Hey, y'all. I'm back for episode 96 of Beyond the Gate, season 1. If you guys have not already, all of my BTG Shade squad and my new viewers, please go ahead and hit that like button for me. And if you have not already, but you liking the vibe over here, please go ahead and subscribe. All right. And so, yeah, y'all, this is episode 96. Like I told you, mm, it was okay. Jacob got on my nerves. Tomas and Eva got on my nerves. Ted continued to get on my nerves. Nicole and Pick Six scene was good. I'll give it a 5. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 5. All right. This is Wednesday's episode, which would technically when I'm recording today, but you'll probably get it early Thursday morning. But yeah, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into this recap. I ain't gonna waste no time because I'm tired. I gotta get up in the morning. And yeah, y'all, let's get shady. All right, y'all. So we open up this episode. We know Nicole is on the phone, talking to Danny about her concern for Martin. And they talk about how they were both, kept out of the loop. And Nicole says, that wasn't my choice. If it was my choice, the whole family would know the truth. And that's when Kat walks in asking what truth she's talking about. So then conveniently, as she's getting ready to sit Kat down and tell her what's going on, they're interrupted by none other than I need a badge. I need a badge. But anyway, so Deputy Duke and a hat. I need a badge and a hat. But anyway, so Deputy Do Good shows up, right? To do none other than what? Do good. Okay. And he says that he's there to talk to Nicole and says that it cannot wait. So Kat questions, is this about the evidence against Leslie, our case? And Jacob said, no, I'm here on official police business, but I'm here to see Nicole. So Kat starts going in as to why Jacob is really there. Like, what you mean you here to stay? I wish you would. I wish you would try to arrest my mama. And so he said, look, Nicole, can I speak to you in private? Because your daughter is real turned up. And Nicole she said, no, my daughter grown. She can hear anything that you need to say. And so Jacob tells him, look, I'm here investigating an assault. And so, of course, it ain't none other than Leslie Pick Six, whoever she want to go by. I literally use Pick Six a lot as the episode because I'm not going to do the Leslie Dana thing. I'm not going to do that. Okay. But basically, she done filed a claim for bodily injury and emotional trauma. And so Kat tells Jacob, well, you just for believing this person, especially when you was just investigating her your damn self for another crime. And so Nicole asked Kat, look, calm down. Let me handle it. You know what I'm saying? And she asked Jacob, well, did the accuser provide you with any details of the assault? And Jacob says, yeah, but I don't want to share her story until I hear yours. So Nicole said, look, I was baited. I fell for it. And Jacob takes this as an admission of guilt. And so Nicole said, we scuffled. We tussled a little bit. We tussled like we do in the comments a little bit. But, Pick Six is just as much to blame. And so Jacob asked Nicole, I have here in my notes that you tried to choke the shit out of her. Would that be an accurate description of what happened? And so Nicole says, if only I had it succeeded. And I love Kat sitting back, Mom, all impressed. Kat interjects and says that Nicole my mama didn't mean what she said. My mama didn't mean that. She's under duress, okay? And so Nicole tells Jacob, look, next time you see Pick Six, go look at them contusions and see if the makeup runs off. And I said, oh. And so then he or maybe she said rubs off, or go see if the makeup rubs off, right? And so she asked Jacob if he viewed the security footage. And he said, well, there wasn't any. And I was like, in the back of my head, I said, in a way, that kind of benefits you, Nicole. Because no shade. You did you did it. I mean, not saying it wasn't warranted. You were baited and you took it, but you did it. So it's actually to your benefit that there's no security footage, or you really would be in jail. Because Deputy do good, gonna do good. So he asked for any witnesses, and Nicole lets him know that Ted had walked in on it and separated them. And so Kat asked Jacob, well, what we doing now? And Nicole tells him, look, and Nicole looks at Kat and she's like, look, you are doing a lot. Don't you guys want to go? I got this. I got this. And so she said, yeah, I'm gonna go find Eva and tell her, tell her mama, pick six, to back off. Because that's the least she could do for all the damage she done caused to this family. And I was like, well, my girl always has points. Team Cat. All right. So then we go back over to Off Free Jeans. Yes. It's written all over my face. I shouldn't have to say a word. All right. So Tomas lets Eva know, I won't tell your secrets. And I think that's where we left off last episode. So Eva, and so then once they kind of get out of that, right? They're like, oh my God, I'm so, Eva's like, I'm so sorry. And Tomas is like, no, I'm sorry. And he said, he said, my bad, because I enjoyed it. So Eva said, well, I kind of did too. And she said, but you know what? You got a girlfriend who happened to be my half sister. So Tomas, he said, I'm aware. But Kat isn't always the nicest person. And I said, you really ain't. Your old Rico Suave wannabe behind. I knew he was an F boy, but it was this for me. It's one thing for you to cheat on a girl. Now you got to dog her out to her sister that don't like her. Y'all know, if it's one thing I don't with, I can't do a man that's not loyal. I can't do a man that's not loyal. That is so, I can't do friends, people that aren't loyal. Like, that's a deal breaker for me on all levels. So, Tomas basically says that he doesn't appreciate the way Kat attacks her. And Eva says that, basically, well, in Kat's defense, she was right about me. And I said, well, I'm glad that I wish you would act like that when you're around her. Okay. So Tomas goes on about how, but Kat's intuition gets her in trouble. And so then he decides to share that he and Kat haven't done the nasty yet. Why was that necessary? Why couldn't we go back to the conversation about the nerdy books? But okay, whatever. So then he takes it even further and spills the tea that Kat is a virgin. And my notes say disgusting. Okay. So Tomas begs Eva not to, when I tell you I was, woo, Jesus, thank God I watched it at work. Thank God. Because they would have got a tongue lashing from, okay? Jesus. So anyway, Tomas begs Eva, look, please don't tell Kat that I told you all her business. And so Eva said, well, why would I tell Kat? And she said, but don't worry about it. Kat might change your mind. Tomas goes and said, well, we almost did it before. And said, but I was the one that decided to abstain. So now you and he goes on about, not having a lot of friends and how she's so easy to talk to. And he's just really laying it on thick. And it really got on my nerves. And I was just really irritated. And then he says that, he didn't want to sleep with Kat because it felt forced. And he just doesn't want to be on someone's sexual to-do list. But yet you was trying to take that ass from day one. Get out of here. Get out of here, Rico. Get out. So Eva asked if they talked about it, and he admits, well, damn, I wasn't mature enough to talk about it, and I'm sitting up here talking about it with you. And so Eva was like, well, I like to have conversations and be upfront because I like clarity. And, I've always had to, fight for clarity from my mama. And so she said, well, the only thing that matters is, what you want to happen next. And so she's like, and what is that? And so Tomas said, I'm trying to keep talking to you. And I said, Tomas, you a real BAN. We're not 15 minutes in, or I would have said it with my whole chest. Okay. But I think y'all know what most of y'all know what BAN stands for. Ted is going off on Bill, questioning whether KKK Kenny's unalive body can somehow be connected back to them. So Bill is like, nah, you good. And he reminds him that, yeah, you said that before, and my livelihood's at stake, bro. He said, he used his marriage as an example. He said, I know I did what I did in my marriage, but I can't at this point, I can't have anything else come out. And I need assurances from you. So then he gets a knock at the door and he gets off the phone. And of course, it's none other than Pick Six, right? Dana to him, I'm not gonna do that. Okay. The woman of many names. All right. So she apologized. I apologize for showing up so unexpectedly, Teddy. And so Ted says, well, I really don't. And I was kind of here with Ted. I felt like he was saying it with his chest until later on, and he disappointed me. And I'm telling again, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. So anyway, so he's like, look, I don't mind getting unexpected guests like, my wife or my daughter. It's only when it's you. Leslie told Pick Six tells him, keep pretending that you don't like me. We both know that's not the case. I said, hmm. And I keep telling y'all that's not the case. It's not. She lets herself in Ted's room. Why he let that happen? Don't know. That's why I'm telling y'all that's not the case. If a man don't want you in his room, you wouldn't be there. All right. And so she, thanks him for driving her home after what happened. And so Ted is like, why are you wearing a scarf and it's 85 degrees outside? She walk around with, with this scarf on. Talking about, oh, I don't want you to see it, Teddy. It's so embarrassing. And so Ted asked, well, who did this to you? And so you already know who did it to me. You witnessed it. And so Ted said, look, I ain't realized it was that bad as it looks, okay, or as it appears, right? So Leslie then goes on to talk about how Nicole, Nicole doesn't take pressure too well. I think that maybe y'all should get her a therapist. I said, you evil bitch, okay? Literally, my notes say, then this is the part that really irritated me. Ted starts talking about how that is his fault and he feels like he's on a sinking ship, and Pick Six is like, why? Because you made a bad choice years ago. And then recommends that he move on without Nicole. And I literally tweeted this out. Why are we sharing details about our dissolving marriage from the person who helped disrupt it? Is it me? Help me. Is it me? Okay. Like, look, I ain't trying to shoot my shot. She said, you'll get there on your own. And I said, he will. He will. I've been saying this. It's going to piss us off. We all going to be mad. We probably going to boycott him off the show, but we have to remember it don't matter who's playing Ted. It's the writers. He is absolutely, let Nicole serve him them papers. He is absolutely going to go Leslie. And literally, I feel like the end of this showed us that he still, look, a hole is a hole, even if it's a crazy hole. Okay. And so Leslie tells Ted that, you know what, she might let him take her on as a patient. And Ted said, bitch, you got a bruise. Okay. You're going to heal. You're going to be all right. So then she goes on about how, no, I may have psychological issues. And every time I see Nicole, I could have a panic attack. And before Ted shows her the door, okay, she tells him that Eva shared with her what happened at the office. And Ted said, well, it's all good. Eva solved the problem. And so Leslie, of course, is a proud mama. And of course, that's our daughter. And so she was like, well, that's good. She was able to find her way out of Cat's trap. And so, of course, this is another thing that irritated me. This starts to pique Ted's interest. And he's like, well, what are you talking about? Cat had something to do with the accreditation error. And so Pick Six then tries to play cool. Oh, I can't tell you. I am not going to betray my daughter's trust. No, I ain't going to do that. No, no, no. And so he said, well, I think Eva would have told me because I absolutely asked her what happened. And she took full responsibility. And Pick Six said, oh, that's what she would do. So Pick Six basically admits, yeah, Eva didn't tell her that verbatim, but when she confronted her about it, she did deny it, and she tells Ted that she really thinks that he needs to think about which mother-daughter duo has his back. The one that's always with him or the one that's always attacking him. And I said, "Oh, no, you didn't." But I don't know. It's going to burn my soul. I'm throwing my line out there, y'all. I if I don't know why I see them doing this to us because it's fucking torture. And I love Trisha Mann. I do. But we know this is all Leslie has ever wanted, was for her and Ted to be together and him, Eva, and they be a family. What if they actually let that play out? What if he divorces Nicole and we get like a year of him being married to Leslie? What would y'all do? In the comments, let me know, because I'd be furious. Like, I would want to boycott it, but I can't. So I would still keep coming back and torturing myself. But it would literally be torture if I had to watch that play out. But from my soaps, histories, and because they're on CBS right after Bold and the Beautiful, I've seen this before. And not even them, Young and the Restless. We've seen this before. We've seen people be married, break up, go marry the side piece, cheat on them, break up with her, and go back to the original wife. We've seen this narrative before. Now, if Nicole could ever forgive him after that, I don't know. But I absolutely could see it. I'm gonna just leave that there. But y'all drop down the comments, let me know what you think. So now, back at the hospital, Chelsea is basically telling Allison that she needs to leave Craig, and and Madison is still outside the door, ear hustling. So Chelsea is like, "Well, how long has Craig been, beating, pushing you up against the washer and dryers?" You know what I'm saying? And so Allison downplays it. "Oh, he only does that when he's angry." So Chelsea tells her, "Well, look, girl, you better than that, okay?" And so Allison plays in Chelsea's face, saying, "You know what? I knew what we had was real." And so Chelsea tries to redirect the conversation, like, "But that's not what we was talking about." Okay. And so she's like, "How long this been going on between you and Craig?" And so Allison said, "Oh, it's been going on the entire relationship, and things just eventually escalated." I'm gonna be honest, and I am not trying to victim shame. And this may be unpopular opinion, and I'm sorry. And if I trigger or piss anybody off, I apologize in advance. I don't think she's a victim. I think it's a whole lot. And I think for me, watching and seeing the lengths that she'll go to pretend to be a victim, to try to get Chelsea's attention, is honestly disgusting to me. And that's why I even watching the shit is like, am I wrong? Y'all let me know. I understand this is soap, but that's a bit extra. I think it could. For people who actually went through it, I think it could be triggering when you see somebody up here that I feel like you absolutely know is playing in your face. Okay. And maybe I'm wrong. Y'all may have a difference of opinion out there, and that's why, again, we can respectfully disagree and tussle in the comments. So when Chelsea asked her, why she would put up with this crazy-eyed heifer talking about well, Craig is really nice and he's funny and he's good in bed. We're supposed to take this seriously. Okay. Okay. Notes say, "Call her next to Ken and go home, Chelsea, and leave her at that hospital." So Chelsea is like, "This is not okay what he's doing." And all she, "Oh, so you really do care about me." We are not, bitch, you are getting knocked between the washers and dryers. Stay on task if that's what is happening. So Chelsea said, "Look, what I can do is I can put you in touch with my daddy. And and Allison's like, "No, I ain't trying to do that. I don't want to do that." And so then she starts getting smart with Chelsea and said, if I wanted your help, I would have asked for it. Well, when your ass came with the blood and ketchup all on your forehead running in the off-free jeans, we thought that you were serious. Basically, she told Chelsea, "Get the fuck out." And so And she's like, all you care about is Madison. Yep. We're done. We're over. We've been over for 5 days now. Okay. 14. Yeah, girl. I moved on. Now let's move on, okay? Because that's all I could give y'all. Because I'm trying to make this what it is, but this was, like I said, it was a Wednesday. Okay. So now Tomas is down at Orphans talking about how comfortable he is around Eva, and he doesn't know where he and Kat stand right now. And I said, you grimy piece of shit. So Eva says that, well, you know, that's just not my problem. That's not my, and she tells Tomas, look, I I ain't got this flow with anybody else. Okay. And so Tomas said, look, I want to get to know you and I want you to get to know me. And thanks her, and thanks her for, you know, giving him something that he's not getting somewhere else in his life. And literally my notes say, you ain't Tomas. So then Eva and Tomas realized, oh, we just been sitting here so long. And so they agree to get up and leave. And so she's like, oh, so you want to come back to my hotel room? And he's like, oh, it's about the book. But we know really he getting ready to read between her lines. Take that how you want. Okay. Nicole is trying to convince Kat to think twice. Back in Nicole's house, Nicole is trying to encourage Kat to think twice about confronting Eva. And Jacob said, yeah, because I ain't trying to come back over here with another warrant. So Kat said, look, if you think you funny, it's not. And so she's like, are you really about to arrest my mother? And so Deputy Dogood said, I took an oath and, and I have a badge and a duty to do good. And so he said, although I respect Aunt Nicole, and I know Pick Six is a crazy mother. Assault is still a crime. And I'm Scruff McGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 65254, whatever the shit is. But you know what I'm saying? That's what it was giving. Only you can save forest fires. Like, oh, okay. And so Nicole said she ready to go down the station, but Jacob said, nah, I was just here to ask some questions. I ain't ready for all that yet. So Kat is pissed. Kat is pissed off at Jacob. And Nicole calms her down, and Kat asks, well, what did you want to talk about before Jacob interrupted? And so Nicole tells her that, look, they need to table their conversation for right now. Okay. So back into the hotel with Ted. Ted tells Pick Six that he's not going to let her disparage his wife and his daughter. And I said, well, it's about time, Ted. But every time you take 2 steps forward, you take 5 steps back. Okay. And clearly opposites attract. And we know it ain't fiction. It's a natural fact. Okay. So Pick Six claims that, look, I'm just comparing apples to oranges. And then she gets all close on Ted, telling him how, I remember how you used to like good juicy apples and biting into my apple bottom. Okay. And Ted shuts her down and said, look, it is not going to happen. Could have fooled me, Ted. I wonder if, let me know in the comments. Ted look a little weak. Like he could hardly speak. Okay. I'm just saying. And so Pick Six said, oh, well, I'm going to go buy myself some new scars. But I really enjoyed talking to you. See you around, teddy bear. And I said, Ted looked like he wanted that thing. I'm sorry, y'all. I told y'all. I know I'm still gonna stand on what I said. If I don't catch nothing out in the waters, well, shit. But I'm gonna stand 10 toes down on what I said. Ted gonna that girl. He want to spin the block. Anyway, let's move on. So Chelsea, so we gonna spin the block back to Garland Memorial, where Chelsea waits around to talk to Madison, and Chelsea says that, oh, I just had the weirdest conversation with Allison, and Madison said, oh, well, it didn't sound weird to me. It sound like if I wasn't in love with you, I'd be upset. With all this concern, Chelsea, you were showing to this creepy eye. All right. And says, it sounds like Allison don't want to let go. And Chelsea tells her, well, Allison's getting knocked between the washers and dryers. And Madison feels like, I think she's using that for sympathy, Chelsea. So she said, I think she lying. I think the bitch lying, honestly. She said her timing is real coincidental. And she said, you know, you're smart. And I really feel like you should be able to put two and two together. And I said, well, damn, not taking a not taking a jab at the intelligence level. So she brings up how you know, and let me guess, she probably didn't want your dad getting involved either because, you know, she doesn't want anyone looking into the allegations closely. And so she said, look, there's something really off about crazy eyed Allison. And I really wish you would keep your distance because if not, then I might have to keep my distance from you. She didn't say that. I'm adding that on because that's what she need to do. Okay. Because I think she the next target. But anyway, I'm just throwing my lines out there. Okay. So look, I ain't had fish in a minute. I ain't had a good fish in a minute. I hope I catch me a good sea bass. All right. So Chelsea's like, well, you know, I had to help her. What did you want me to do? And Madison said it's just real coincidental, just like she planned. So then Madison goes off to finish doing her job when Chelsea gets a text from Allison asking if she's still there. So Chelsea comes back into the room and Allison is apologizing for going off on her and explains, you know, she loves Craig and I just don't want to put him through the system. I don't want him to go through anything like that. And so Chelsea's like, girl, you need to leave Craig, get help, or matter of fact, do both. So, however, Chelsea makes it clear, I'm not coming back to visit. Okay. And I would appreciate if you didn't reach out to me again. And I said, thank you. Thank you. Even though we know she gonna spin the block. Okay. And she tells her that, you know, basically being in your orbit is weird as okay. And it's affecting my relationship with Madison. So I can't do it. And I said, well, maybe she really do love that girl. Some people fall in love fast. Okay. So then we move on. We see Ted. He's leaving a message, voice message for Eva, letting her know that Pick Six had stopped by her mama and they need to talk. And so then he gets a knock at the door, and it's none other than da 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 Deputy Do Good. There to do good. And he wants to ask questions about, you know, the altercation between Leslie and Nicole. And he lets them know that, you know, Leslie came up there and filed a report that morning and said, you know, is it true what she said? That, you know, Nicole tried to choke the shit out of her at Alfred Jeans? And so Ted said, well, what look, I am already in enough trouble, and what I am not about to do, he said, I'm trying to save my marriage, not bury it. Okay. He said, so what I'm not about to do is implicate Nicole. And so Jacob said, well, there's no law requiring you to speak to the police or for you to provide a witness statement. So Ted said, so I ain't doing it. Thanks, Jacob. Have a nice day. Thanks, Deputy Do Good. All right. Then we see Nicole. She has decided that she is going to go over and pay Leslie a visit. Okay. To see these injuries. And she said, and she refuses to leave until she does. So then basically Leslie shows her, and you know, of course, Nicole swipes her neck and the makeup rubs off. And so Nicole tells her, you know, you really should have been in the movies. And Leslie says, you know what? I'm gonna have my real photos for court. And Nicole tells her, look, the only person who finds your plan clever is you. Okay, you crazy bitch. All right. And it's gonna be a failure, just like you are. And so Leslie responds, you know what? I'm not sure about that. And I think that we, you know, count our points differently. She warns Nicole that, you know, I always got a plan and another personality. All right. And there's always a next time. And Nicole said, I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully next time you won't need any makeup. And I said, oh, touche. I did like that. And then we see Chelsea run into Kat getting off the elevator, and she's like, well, where the hell you going? And Kat is just gone because she's like, you know, Leslie out here messing with my mama, and I need to find Eva before it's too late. And so now we know she on the hunt for Eva. So I imagine Thursday we're gonna see her go to Eva's hotel room, and Tomas will be in there. All right. So let me know what you thought about this episode of Beyond the Gates. Wednesday's episode 96. If you have not already, please make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. And make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when we are dropping new episodes and all of our other content that we got going on. We got the Shy live on Saturday, BMF on Sunday. I'm dropping our Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion part 2 recap. tomorrow as well. Also have a recap of the King's Court, which I'm loving right now. So yeah, y'all, I appreciate y'all. And we also, how do I always forget this? And members, do not forget tomorrow, 9 p.m. We do have our members only live where we talk all things beyond the gates and talk about our Friday and next week's predictions. So, all right, y'all. I will catch y'all tomorrow. You have a wonderful evening. Bye bye. Be safe.